The Wright brothers did not invent the airplane. At least, that is what a growing number of historians, engineers, and governments have argued for over a century. A Connecticut machinist tested a flying machine months before Kitty Hawk. A Brazilian aviator flew in front of thousands of witnesses and was given a national holiday for it. A German immigrant filed patents, built prototypes, and died broke while 2 bicycle mechanics got all the credit. The story you learned in school is missing something enormous. And by the time this video ends, you will never look at December 17, 1903 the same way again. In 1890, if you wanted to travel from New York City to Chicago, you boarded a train. The journey took roughly 24 hours. You sat in a hard wooden seat, breathed coal smoke, and prayed the track held. If the journey was farther, say, from New York to London, you boarded a steamship. That trip took 7 days on a good week. 7 days of open ocean, seasickness, and the constant, quiet terror of sinking. The sky was not even part of the conversation. Men had floated in hot air balloons since 1783, drifting wherever the wind decided to take them. But controlled, powered, heavier than air flight? That was still the dream of fools and madmen. Otto Lilienthal, a German aviation pioneer, had proven gliding was possible through the 1890s. He built over 2,000 successful glider flights from a man-made hill near Berlin. Then in August 1896, one of his gliders stalled 4 to 9 feet above the ground. He fell. He hit the earth with devastating force and broke his spine. He died the next day in a Berlin hospital. His last reported words were, "Sacrifices must be made." The sky demanded blood before it gave up its secrets. And all across the world, in workshops and barns and government laboratories, inventors were lining up to pay the price. The question was not whether powered flight would happen. The question was who would get there first, and who would make sure the world remembered their name. Wilbur Wright was 32 years old in 1899 when he wrote a letter to the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. He asked for every research paper they had on human flight. He was a bicycle repairman from Dayton, Ohio. He had never attended college. He had never built anything that flew. But Wilbur Wright had spent years watching how birds balanced themselves in the air. He sat at the window of the Wright Cycle Company and studied the way buzzards tilted their wingtips to bank left or right. That observation became the most important engineering insight in aviation history. He called it wing warping. Wilbur took an empty cardboard bicycle tube box, held it horizontally, and twisted its open ends in opposite directions. He realized that if you bent the trailing edges of a wing in opposite directions, you could control roll, the left-right tilting of an aircraft. Every single airplane flying today still uses a version of that principle. Wilbur and his younger brother Orville chose Kitty Hawk, North Carolina for their tests because the U.S. Weather Bureau told them it had consistent winds and soft sand for crash landings. They arrived in September 1900 with a glider packed in wooden crates. They tested, they failed, they rebuilt. They went home to Dayton, retooled, and came back the following year. By 1902, their glider flew beautifully. But a glider is not an airplane. They needed an engine light enough to lift the machine and powerful enough to push it forward. Every automobile engine manufacturer they contacted turned them down. Too heavy, too risky, too strange a request. So their mechanic, Charlie Taylor, built a custom gasoline engine from scratch in just 6 weeks inside the Dayton bicycle shop. It weighed 179 pounds and produced 12 horsepower. Nobody outside of that small circle even knew it existed. On the morning of December 17, 1903, the temperature at Kill Devil Hills was 34 degrees Fahrenheit. A 27-mile-per-hour wind was blowing off the Atlantic. 5 witnesses from the local life-saving station stood on the frozen sand. Orville climbed onto the lower wing of the flyer and lay down flat. At 10:35 in the morning, the machine lifted off the rail and rose into the cold North Carolina sky. It stayed airborne for 12 seconds. It traveled 120 feet. It landed in the sand less than 200 feet from where it started. One of the witnesses, a man named John T. Daniels, had never operated a camera before in his life. He had been handed the Wright's camera and told to squeeze the shutter at the moment of lift. He did. And the photograph he took that morning is one of the most reproduced images in human history.
The world did not notice. The Associated Press received a telegram about the flight and killed the story. An editor at a Virginia newspaper ran a heavily inaccurate version, reporting the plane had flown 3 miles. The actual story, a 12-second hop by 2 bicycle mechanics, did not seem worth the front page. While the press ignored Dayton, the rivals were accelerating. In Connecticut, a Bavarian immigrant named Gustave Whitehead had reportedly flown a steam-powered machine in August 1901, more than 2 years before Kitty Hawk. A reporter named Richard Howell claimed to witness the flight and wrote about it in the Bridgeport Sunday Herald on August 18, 1901. The article described a bat-winged machine lifting 50 feet off the ground and flying half a mile. The Wright brothers dismissed Whitehead entirely. No photographs of the alleged 1901 flight have ever been verified. But in 2013, aviation historian John Brown discovered a photograph inside a 1906 German publication that appeared to show Whitehead's machine airborne. Jane's All the World's Aircraft, the most authoritative aviation reference in the world, revised its history that same year to credit Whitehead with the first powered flight. The debate has never fully closed. In Paris on November 12, 1906, a Brazilian named Alberto Santos-Dumont flew his 14 bis aircraft in front of thousands of spectators. He covered 722 feet in 21 seconds. The crowd went absolutely insane. Much of Europe, and most of Brazil to this day, credits Santos-Dumont as the true father of aviation, because his flight was witnessed by a massive public crowd and independently verified. Meanwhile, back in the United States, the Wright brothers had spent 1904 and 1905 quietly flying longer and longer distances over a cow pasture in Huffman Prairie, Ohio, just 8 miles from downtown Dayton. By October 1905, Orville flew the Flyer 3 for 39 minutes and covered 24 miles in a single flight. Reporters were not invited. The Wrights were terrified someone would steal their design before they could patent it. That secrecy backfired badly. Because Glenn Curtis, a motorcycle racer and engine builder from Hammondsport, New York, built his own aircraft and publicly flew it in 1908. The Wrights immediately sued him for patent infringement. The resulting legal war between the Wright Company and the Curtis Company lasted more than a decade. Historians now argue that the patent war actually slowed American aviation development by years. It was not until the US government forced a cross-licensing agreement in 1917, driven by the urgent need for military aircraft in World War I, that American aviation finally broke free and began to race. Today, approximately 100,000 commercial flights take off around the world every single day. In the United States alone, the aviation industry generates more than $900 billion in economic activity each year. That is roughly 5% of the entire US gross domestic product. powered by a principle first sketched out in a bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio. The average American now takes 4 commercial flights per year. If you have ever boarded a plane, leaned back in your seat at 35,000 feet, and sipped coffee while crossing a continent in 5 hours, you are living in the world the Wright brothers built. That trip would have taken a month by ship and wagon in 1900. Aviation remade warfare completely. The same fundamental technology that carried Orville Wright 12 feet off the ground for 12 seconds in 1903 was, 40 years later, carrying B-17 bombers over Nazi Germany and fighter aircraft over the Pacific. World War II was the first conflict in history decided as much in the sky as on the ground. Aviation did something no invention before it had fully managed. It shrank the planet. Today, a humanitarian worker can be in a disaster zone on the other side of the world within 24 hours. A vaccine can travel from a lab in Maryland to a village in sub-Saharan Africa in less than a day. Families separated by entire oceans can sit down for dinner together within a matter of hours. All of it, every single bit of it, traces back to one 12-second moment on a freezing North Carolina beach. Here is the fact that should stop you cold. On the day of the Wright brothers' first flight, neither Wilbur nor Orville told their father or sister back in Dayton what they were attempting. They sent a telegram home afterward, and even that telegram contained a transcription error, misreporting the longest flight as 59 seconds instead of 57. The most important 12 seconds in human history almost passed without a single person outside of 5 strangers on a beach even knowing it happened. So here is what I want you to think about. If the Wright brothers had never filed their patents and kept everything secret, would Whitehead or Santos-Dumont or someone else entirely be the name we teach our kids in school? Drop your answer in the comments below. Subscribe to The Beginning Theory, because every great thing had a beginning. I'll see you in the next one.